Welcome back to American Agenda. Here's an update on some of the major coronavirus stories around the world. The World Health Organization is backing off its since deleted tweet. There is no evidence those who have recovered from the coronavirus have developed an immunity. The WHO is now saying that most people who've been infected will develop an antibody that will provide some level of protection. Sweden's foreign minister says it's too early to judge the country's more lax approach to fighting coronavirus and that stricter measures could still be enforced after 5 pubs in Stockholm were shut down for not keeping people far enough apart. Sweden has relied on asking them to practice social distancing on a voluntary basis. Its death toll has stayed far below that of Spain or Italy. The postponed Tokyo 2020 Olympics will be canceled if the COVID outbreak isn't brought under control by next year. The pandemic has already forced a year-long delay of the Games, which are now scheduled to open July of next year. But Tokyo 2020 officials say no further postponement was possible. That is, if it doesn't happen next summer, it will be canceled altogether.
The world's biggest meat companies like Smithfield and Tyson Foods have shut down their slaughterhouses and processing plants due to the coronavirus crisis. But what is the fate of those animals left behind? Gloria So reports.
Crowded and clamoring in cages, the hogs at Mike Patterson's Minnesota farm won't be going anywhere anytime soon. The world's biggest meat companies like Smithfield and Tyson Foods are shutting down their slaughterhouses and processing plants across the U.S., meaning Patterson's hogs may be left to face a very different fate, being euthanized for no reason other than having nowhere else to go.
You know, as the longer we go with plants shut down, the more plants that shut down, this problem's just going to be getting bigger and bigger.
Shutdowns have sent shockwaves through the nation's food supply chain, limiting food supplies for grocers. Pork has been hit especially hard, with daily production cut by a third. Unlike cattle, which can be housed outside on pasture, pigs are raised inside temperature-controlled buildings. Their barns must be emptied out by sending adult hogs out to slaughter to make room for new piglets. But with no pork companies buying his hogs, farms like Patterson's face a serious problem of overcrowding.
So there's really a backlog of animals. In our co-op, we're trying to find every space that we have available to house those hogs. But at some point, if we aren't able to market hogs, something will have to give. We just won't have enough space to house all the animals that we have.
Euthanizing his animals is the last thing Patterson wants to do. In an effort to satiate their hunger but slow their growth, he has resorted to giving his hogs soybean hulls to eat instead of normal feed for the time being. The soybean hulls fill the animals' stomachs, but offer little to no nutritional value.
Our goal as farmers is we try the best we can to keep every animal alive and healthy, and so that we can produce quality pork for consumers. And you know, anything that goes against that is just, it's pretty tough for me to even think about.
Farmers nationwide are now pleading for help. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said late Friday it will help farmers find markets for their livestock or help euthanize and dispose of animals as necessary. But according to the National Pork Producers Council, hog farmers across the U.S. will still lose an estimated $5 billion for the rest of the year.
And joining us now to react is author and Newsmax contributor Tom Basile. Well, Tom, will this type of shutdown have a significant effect on the country's food supply or economy?
Well, first of all, God bless our farmers. You know, we spend a lot of time, and rightfully so, talking about what's going on in New York and New Jersey and other places. But this is a very, very high cost of the pandemic, and we see this happening all across the country. Whether it's dairy farmers dumping thousands of gallons of milk to livestock, and the administration just enacted a $19 billion aid package, and clearly there's going to be a need to prioritize aid to farmers going forward. We have a very mature, very complex supply chain, and we haven't seen massive shortages of food because of it. But this shows us that, Corinne, that this is still very volatile and very susceptible to any kind of disruption. So hopefully we can get these plants back online.
Well, Tom, let's look at it a little different way. I agree with you. And when we go back to restaurants and that sort of thing, hopefully there is a market. But now you have thousands of people waiting in line at food banks. You have farmers that can't sell their hogs, and now they're going to have to euthanize them, kill them. And that doesn't help anybody. It seems like there should be some sort of effort to get those two together, to get the food where it's needed. And by the way, we need to get back to work. But in the meantime, seems like maybe we should try that.
Well, but you need to have the personnel to actually perform the act of
and they're not essential. Seems like they should be essential.
They should be essential, and but the fact of the matter is, if these plants are shutting down because they don't have the personnel due to COVID-19, what we need to do is help prioritize testing for those types of agricultural workers. That is what's going to get these plants back open, and and that's what's going to at least enable farmers like this gentleman to send it to Smithfield or to Tyson so that it can at least be processed. That's the problem here, is that we don't have processing going on. We don't have the plants open right now, but that needs to be a priority.
Tom, Tyson Foods chairman, he said that the food supply chain is breaking. We've already established that they're in a world of hurt. You mentioned $19 billion in aid. Do you think that's going to be enough?
Well, likely not. I think that the pork industry is talking about $5 billion in terms of a shortfall just by itself. What I fear is going to happen is you've got folks like Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio and others that are going to have their hands out for tens of billions of dollars in aid. And our farmers, who are the breadbasket of this country and in many cases the world, they're going to get drowned out in this debate in Washington. So it's so important that we continue to fight for the farmers who are going to need the assistance. We have to keep these plants and these small farms and these co-ops operating over the long term. We've got to be able to bring them back. Yeah,
we can have that discussion also about what the federal government should do for states, if anything. We can have that in the future as well. Coming up, we're going to have continuing coverage of the coronavirus crisis after this.